What are the latest updates on the Gaza ceasefire? So let's take a look at this article from Al Jazeera and see if we can get a better, all-encompassing idea of what actually is happening in Gaza right now. So it says, the path to the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal in Gaza. Ceasefire deal between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas has gone into effect in Gaza, allowing more than 2 million Palestinians in the enclave some respite after 15 months of devastating war. First 6-week phase of the ceasefire agreement will see some of the Israeli captives held in Gaza in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, a gradual Israeli withdrawal to Gaza's borders with Israel, and a huge increase in access for humanitarian aid. It is hoped that the first phase will pave the way for the second and third phases, which will lead to the release of all captives and a permanent ceasefire. And there are reportings that Netanyahu is reserving the right to not do the second and third phases, which is the gradual withdrawal to Gaza's borders with Israel and a huge increase in access for humanitarian aid. So we'll see if that happens. The first truce. After more than 6 weeks of fighting that destroyed extensive areas of Gaza and killed thousands, Israel and Hamas agreed to a 4-day truce on November 21, 2023. In the weeks since, Hamas fighters had attacked southern Israel on October 7, 2023, and killed 1,200 people. The Israeli army had relentlessly bombarded Gaza with air and ground attacks, killing more than 14,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children. Additionally, an estimated 1.7 million Palestinians had been displaced and forced by the Israeli army to flee the southern areas of the Strip. After weeks of hectic negotiations led by Qatar and multiple instances when a deal appeared on the horizon before falling apart, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called a meeting of the cabinet, which then voted to approve a truce deal. About 250 captives were taken by Hamas and other Palestinian groups following the attack on October 7th. As part of the deal, 110 were freed. Israel released more than 240 Palestinian prisoners, all of them women and children. The truce was extended to 7 days, but Netanyahu made it clear that Israel was not ending its war on Gaza and that the halt in fighting was only temporary. Israel resumed its war on Gaza on December 1st, 2023. So this just goes to show you that Israel knows that the best way to retrieve hostages is to make deals with Hamas. They were literally just taken hostage as political pawns. Israel's made deals with extremist groups in the past to get hostages back. They know coming into October 7th that is the best way to actually retrieve hostages. And the utter refusal to have any negotiations since that November 1st, 2023 deal is just an indication that they really don't care about the hostages at all. International pressure. As Israel's war on Gaza intensified, protests broke out around the globe. Notably, university students in the U.S. held campus protests and sit-ins. As the war continued, a few European nations officially recognized the state of Palestine, including Ireland, Spain, and Norway. South Africa also filed a genocide case. Negotiations continue. In May 2024, as the war on Gaza entered its 8th month, hopes that a ceasefire might be reached were amplified as talks progressed. In Cairo, Egyptian and Qatari officials worked with the Americans to find an agreement. Then, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh said on May 6th that his group had accepted a proposal. Palestinians started to celebrate in the streets of Gaza. That agreement, which would take place over 3 stages, stated that Hamas would release 33 Israeli captives in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli prisons over the course of 42 days. Second phase, the Israeli army would fully withdraw from Gaza. And this is the deal that Joe Biden's been talking about, where Joe Biden said, Hamas accepted the deal that we've been working on since May. It's essentially the same deal. Israel just wanted to kill more Palestinians before actually accepting the deal. Israel, however, said it could not agree to the terms of the ceasefire soon after Israel launched an invasion of the Rafah in southern Gaza. Then in late May, U.S. President Joe Biden and Israel said Israel had agreed to an enduring ceasefire proposal, but Netanyahu later rejected the plan and carried on the war. Then we have the Lebanon war, where Israel invaded Lebanon. The ICJ arrest warrants. Trump enters the fray. On December 2nd, U.S. President Donald Trump posted to social media that there would be hell to pay if the captives in Gaza were not freed before he came to office. He repeated the demands later in December and again in early January. Regional negotiations, including for ceasefires in Gaza and Lebanon, were reportedly coordinated between the Biden administration and some of the incoming officials from Trump's new administration. A deal is reached. On January 15th, negotiators reportedly reached a deal after 15 months of war in which at least tens of thousands of Palestinians were killed. Some estimates put the death toll at more than 100,000. An Israeli cabinet meeting approved the deal on Saturday despite opposition from far-right ministers. The ceasefire was due to begin at 8:30 a.m. local time on Sunday, January 19th. But shortly before this time, Netanyahu issued a statement saying that it would not start until Hamas provided the names of the first 3 Israeli captives to be released. Hamas attributed the delay in handing over the names to technical field reasons. After Hamas released the names, the ceasefire came into effect at 11:15 local time, 11:15 a.m. Much like the deal proposed in May, this ceasefire is set to roll out in 3 phases. The first stage will last 42 days as Israeli forces pull out of Gaza. The Israeli military should also withdraw from populated areas of Gaza, allowing Palestinians to return to neighborhoods throughout the enclave as a surge in humanitarian aid is allowed through. The UN and other bodies and organizations have accused the Israelis of blocking aid into Gaza for the better part of the last year. Throughout the various negotiations, U.S. officials often laid the blame on Hamas for failing to agree to the terms of a ceasefire agreement. However, in the run-up to the agreement, Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir claimed that he had repeatedly blocked ceasefire deals over the last 15 months. And let's take a look at the update page. So this is Al Jazeera's live update page. So we can take a look a few hours ago and pick it up where that last article left off. So Israel has been raiding the West Bank now. So Gaza ceasefire holds. Israel launches raid on Jenin in West Bank. This live coverage has ended. The Israeli military on Tuesday launched a large raid in the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank, killing 10 people and injuring 40 others, according to Palestinian health officials on the 3rd day since the ceasefire was enacted in Gaza. The Israel Defense Force and Israel's Domestic Intelligence Service said the counterterrorism operation was called Iron Wall. That's a cute name. President Donald Trump on Monday rescinded an executive order put in place by the Biden administration sanctioning Israeli settlers and entities accused of violence in the occupied West Bank. On Tuesday, Trump's nominee for ambassador to the UN, Representative Elise Stefanik, said at her confirmation hearing that she agreed with extremist members of Israel's government that Israel has a biblical right to occupy the West Bank, the entire West Bank. At the hearing, she pledged to push to align the global body more closely with U.S. interests and to determine whether to continue funding UN agencies that she described as anti-Semitic or engaging in fraud, corruption, or terrorism. Here's what else to know. Israel's top military chief, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, announced that he will resign in March, marking the highest level departure in response to the Hamas attack of October 7, 2023. He said his decision was linked to his recognition of my responsibility for the IDF's failure on October. Okay, who cares? The Senate confirmed Senator Marco Rubio, a staunch supporter of Israel. A man carried out a stabbing attack in Tel Aviv, injuring 4 people, according to Magen David Adom, Israel's emergency services. The suspect was killed at the scene, police said. Hamas and the Islamic Jihad militant group congratulated the attacker, though neither claimed responsibility. Hamas said the attack carried out by a Moroccan man serves as a poignant reminder that blood brings blood. I love how this is like an indication. This is like an attack on Hamas and Islamic Jihad. That they're like, yeah, I mean, war is never good, right? Blood always will bring more blood. And they're like, look, these disgusting terrorists saying that blood brings blood and that an occupying state will cause violence to happen. These people are subhuman. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad militant group said in a video statement Tuesday that it would release several enemy prisoners it was holding in Gaza in the coming days as part of the ceasefire deal. The next round of hostage and prisoner exchanges is scheduled to take place Saturday. Wafa, the official news agency of the Palestinian Authority, reported that 2 people were killed by Israeli snipers in Rafah, the southern Gaza Strip, on Monday evening. More than 24 hours after the ceasefire took effect, the Washington Post has not been able to verify these claims. The IDF said it was unaware of any involvement by IDF soldiers in such an incident. 57 people are believed to remain as hostages in Gaza, but Israel has not given the full basis for its estimates. Around 250 people were kidnapped on October 7th. Okay, already read that. Let's take a look at what Trump's statements on this is.
The president was asked about the deal's longevity. Here's what he had to say.
How confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident.
CBS News foreign correspondent Remy Inocencio is live for us in Tel Aviv this morning.
Okay, and we don't really need to watch any more of that. There are longer clips, so I don't know why a news organization can't play longer clips. But anyway, Donald Trump has said, like, oh yeah, we need to do something really special with Gaza. We need to, they have a lot of nice property over there. So basically indicating that he's going to come in and develop it. I said, like, on October 7th, when it happened, that this is just the cycle of colonization where you have this systemic violence crushing down on people that the occupying powers really just want removed. And you have this systematic, slow, crushing violence that will be met with these sporadic violent outbursts like what we saw on October 7th. And then that is further justification for the complete removal of pretty much anyone involved with those people that get violent outburst. And this is really just going to be, this is like a political move for Netanyahu. He got pressured by Trump to release the hostages. Like, Donald Trump doesn't want there to be hostages in Gaza when he gets into power, because he actually wants to be able to completely destroy Gaza. He wants Netanyahu to be able to finish the job, and that's going to look a little bit bad if there are still hostages there. So you can see that it's moving heaven and earth to get the far-right Israeli members of Netanyahu's cabinet to actually just allow for like a 42-day ceasefire. Even though Netanyahu reserves the right to go back to war at any time, he reserves the right to ignore the second and third phases, which is the withdrawal of the Israeli military and the expansion of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. And even though Israel's never stopped killing Palestinians, they had raids entering the city of Jenin. They've had snipers killing people in Rafah. They've never actually stopped killing people. They've just done it at a slower pace. And now they have Donald Trump, who, you know, Israel's already gotten their money's worth out of Donald Trump. How he rescinded that order of the Biden administration sanctioning violent settlers in the West Bank. So now you can straight up be a violent settler in the West Bank and kill Palestinians there. And the U.S. is going to sit by and completely ignore it. So this is a really dark time for Gaza and Israel and the United States support in that area. Like, even though Joe Biden let Israel do whatever they wanted, now Donald Trump is really laying the groundwork for Israel to completely destroy Gaza. So you have a difference between Joe Biden, who let Israel do whatever they wanted, but wasn't really willing to fundamentally change the broader dynamic between Israel and Palestine. He kind of wanted things to remain the way they were. He said, guys, no, don't do it. Don't bomb it. Can we stop Netanyahu? Can we stop Bibi? And Netanyahu is just ignoring him. Donald Trump's like, get the hostages out and I'll make it easier for you to finish the job. So Donald Trump is going to be very brutal on Palestine. And I don't think there is going to be a Palestine by the time he leaves office, especially if he stays in office for more than 4 years. So, yeah, just know that this ceasefire is the beginning of the end for Gaza. This is not an indication that Israel is going to be lighter on Gaza. This is an indication that they are really beginning to plan for the end of Gaza. They are going to develop Gaza with Trump heavily involved. Sanctions are taken off of settlers. The reports are that Miriam Adelson, who gave Donald Trump like $100 million, wanted him to allow Israel to annex all of the West Bank in return for that. And it seems like he's going to. So, yes, this is a very dark story. Just remember, this ceasefire does not indicate an end to the genocide. And everything surrounding the ceasefire indicates that the genocide is just getting started, which is horrifying to think of. Ugh.